Okay. We should be good to go. So I guess I'll just
I don't
say,
want to.
all right. Well, hello everyone to, I guess we just call this a discussion on Battleground.
Did you just say hello too?
Yes,
This is going well for us.
I
I
know.
like it.
Yeah, it's going great.
Is it just battlegrounds or is it peace talks into battle?
We could do both, honestly, because for me, like I read them back to back, so it was like one
Okay.
huge book to me, and I don't know. I feel like it's better that way because like a lot of the stuff
I
in Peace Talks builds into Battlegrounds really well,
I
and
think it's a nice little way to kind of hit the elephant first because a lot of people were frustrated that peace talks and battlegrounds and such that they were separate. Now they were separated by 2 months, I believe, so it's not huge, but there were the a bunch of people complained about having to buy two books, which felt archaically like what one of his books would have done before.
yeah, that
Um,
that is a fair point. I feel like, but and also it's the fact that like these books, like, I hadn't bought a book in forever, so I went to buy these books. And I was like, oh my god, like this book was $30. I'm like, what happened?
yeah, you got the physical copy. I say I went through Kindle because that's how I do all my reading.
That was a
And
smart move, but nothing beats the feel of a good paper book in your hand. All right.
I have like I think it's like 42 books on that Kindle that I carry with me everywhere. So I think I win on this
Yeah, well, I have a backpack of 42 books. I can.
one. I would. Oh yeah, show me how well that works for you. But
It works out the abs. Maybe I don't know how that works.
maybe you gotta lift with your knees. It's clearly how it goes.
Exactly.
No, I think yeah, there was for a lot of people there was that, and I think this is a good place to kind of start. Oddly enough, because there was enough arguments about like it may have been seen as like a money grab or something like that.
Hmm.
I honestly believe it may have been something specifically from publishing, and we had talked about it before. I believe that if if Butcher had done what he normally does with the Dresden Files, I guess climax
Yeah.
scheme, it would have ended about like probably like it probably would have ended about 10 chapters or so into Battlegrounds, and then waiting there on a cliffhanger would have sucked. Um,
Yes, and then
and
I think also from just reading Peace Talks, like looking back on it, like Peace Talks has enough in it to be a standalone novel. Like it has the like standard structure of a story, and like again, even like the battles towards the end of Peace Talks are very like this feels like towards the ending of a book kind of thing. So I think
yeah,
like and the split makes sense. I think it was the fact that it was uh, maybe the fact that they were released so close to each other. That's what probably rubbed people the wrong way because they thought, well, why don't you just put them together? It can be that close to each other and releasing.
right.
And from
Uh,
from like a suspense standpoint, though, I think that was a really nice thing because like you have all of that in Peace Talks, and then it's like in 4 months you'll get like what happens afterwards, and it's
yeah,
like you're chomping at the bit, like oh my god, I'm like I want it. So like
I think that's a. I mean, yeah, I think it's a fair kind of place to be. It's a kind of a hard line to walk because I don't know if Butcher has stated anything about it because if you merge the two books together, you could see because predominantly up until yeah, up until a little bit, basically up until change, you get you still have the gumshoe aspect of it. Like
yeah,
he's still the investigator. So you have the case, you have the rise, the fall, the looking into it, and then you have predominantly, and there'll be some litter throughout, but you have this big climactic fight.
hmm
Doesn't make it bad. I love that the series and stuff like that. But and we had talked about it before. Peace Talks felt like that setup to that big climactic fight, and then Battlegrounds was just 400, 500, I don't know, I can't remember how many pages of just a giant slugfest of a
oh man.
fight.
Oh yeah. Before we talk about this further, we probably should introduce ourselves. I just realized that.
No,
How dare
shut
you?
up.
You're rude. All right. This is Kyle, and this is my buddy Mitchell, who's the forefront of my Dresden Files knowledge because I've read the book series like once. He's read it 16 times. or is it 17
Oh,
times? I don't know.
it's this one is I reread it. I would generally reread the series whenever a new book was coming out, and so I jumped on ship right after Changes was released, I believe. And then so when Ghost Story would come out, I would read that, and then Cold Days I would reread.
Yeah,
And then after Skin Games, there was a hiatus, which is how it is.
yeah. I
And so
haven't
I
I
think,
haven't read. I think I started reading these books 5 years ago. Yeah.
God, I started reading Dresden Files. I got my first Kindle for my graduation present, so 9 years ago.
Oh, nice.
So that's why. And one of the great parts about reading it is it may just be the way I read things, or that Butcher just has good enough setup that I generally 9 times out of 10 in the first 10 reread, every time I would reread something, I would find something to build upon, which is always great.
Yeah, he's very
Um,
effective about doing that. Like again, like I mentioned before, like in my little review I wrote, that he doesn't have like his prose and like his descriptions aren't like super fanciful or like wordy. It's very to the point, but also like there's enough imagery there to give you a clear picture of what's going on. I feel like that just fits the series really well. Like
it's really
I couldn't handle this
now.
was like a Tolkien
Yeah,
like
it,
description of everything.
I think Butcher understands that like with Dresden Files being set in it starts in actually I believe it starts in early 90s. Technically the book is set, but it's set up in a way that it's supposed to be an urban fantasy, so it's something that you could run into now. So having that, not flowery language, but having that language that you get from like a high fantasy of like this sprawling capital of giant elvish city doesn't work. I mean you could explain Chicago like that, um, but it doesn't feel natural um,
Yeah.
if to somebody that's from Chicago. I would. Um,
I think it also works because it's a first person perspective. Like
mhm.
this is third
It,
person, maybe you can get away with it a little bit, but even then,
I
like
think
sometimes there's a disconnect. Like especially like from when I've read like old like literature about like people talking about cities and like when they talk about they're describing cities, it sounds way too like fantastical when it's in the third person
and
perspective sometimes.
I think that's a fun little bit. I think that's because generally in third person, a lot of times, especially if you look into older writing and such, you want to paint your area, your city as something magical. And there are times when Butcher does it as well when talking about Chicago and what it means to him and or to Dresden, and it becomes a little bit more magical or flowery in language, but predominantly um when you're looking at nowadays, you don't very rarely do you go into this monologue about how beautiful your city is and the impact that it has. Like you'll talk about it, and you'll definitely talk about it if it's like going back to recount something like September 11th can be
Yeah,
like when talking about something like that, it almost becomes something fantastical because um, it's 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 so odd or huge that it has to be almost like a fantasy to describe it.
yeah,
And I feel like New York has that pretty much, and a lot of it is like you have to take a step back and almost address it as if it's fantasy. But
yeah. New
um,
York City is pretty sprawling in that capacity.
regard, I feel like I got off track, but
Yeah, it's like we both got off track. So back to
right,
Battleground or Peace Talks. We're talking about first.
sure, yeah,
Yeah, like
um,
well, yeah. I think we were talking about how I felt at least that like it felt like a complete book even before Battlegrounds, and I feel like even like, if we're combining the two books together, like I did when I read them, it's a nice build up with enough like action there to keep you like invested, and then Battlegrounds again is just an explosion of like here's everything.
yeah.
Spoilers by the way, people. Like if you don't want
Oh yeah.
spoilers, don't listen further.
I feel like if Butcher had done Peace Talks as if it was its own unique, book, he would have needed to put in a little more because it did feel very short comparative. Um,
I think event
but
wise it was really well. I mean, like I guess time wise, it wouldn't be too different because
It's
most Dresden Files stories take place over the place of like a week, pretty much.
yep.
Right? Yeah.
Um, a lot of them can be, and a lot of the early ones can generally be described as like a work week.
Yeah.
Um, but funny, I mean, in that regards is like just looking at in terms of the story that you're telling and such like that. To have something drop in predominantly almost like 100 pages from what it is to does feel like a short. As a reader, you're gonna be like, this book was short, and I felt it when I read it, which was fine to me because of the fact that I knew Battleground coming, and then funny enough, the break before Battlegrounds from Peace Talks feels like almost like a semicolon because Peace Talks can sit on its own if it ended, and maybe he added just a couple more things, a couple more plot hooks, whatever, and then the story ended, I would have been fine with it.
Yeah.
But Battlegrounds could not sit on its own. Um, it's a giant just punch fest, and there's a lot of things going on.
That is fair. Yeah.
But
Actually, like in a way, if you kind of combine the ending from Battlegrounds and put that in Peace Talks, probably would have had a more complete feeling novel, like with the whole
yeah,
the whole Justine
it
thing
would
at
have.
the end.
Yeah, it would have felt very much. Yeah, that was a big thing as well. Having that hook with Justine happen at the end of Battlegrounds, because it was so lost in Battlegrounds. You practically forget about it.
Oh yeah, well
There's
I was like, cool, cool, cool. I'm reading this, and
yeah,
then I was like, oh yeah,
yeah.
that
I
happened.
so I've it's very easy to go into that and just forget about what happens in the, especially if you did it what like I did, where you read Peace Talks when it came out and then Battlegrounds after. It is very hard. I mean, that was a point that I like not forgot about, but it wasn't important. It's like, and that draw, the hook on that one, I guess, the spoiler for her being, nemesis kind of thing,
Yeah,
worked out really well. It wasn't a surprise. It didn't come out at anywhere. Um, it made sense. And it was a good way to kind of bring things back around. To have it be Walker was also just fine.
yeah.
This is one of the things that Butcher Butcher generally, in my mind, Butcher doesn't retcon a lot, but there has been times where he's had to. And
What was one
early
example? I
books,
guess.
the early books, though, it can be generally explained as Harry doesn't know much about the Walkers and such. Um, but there's a couple times where the Walker is seen as like not even just Harry thinks it's dead, but the Walker was just a demon. It died. Everything happened.
Oh,
Um,
now it's like this eldritch being kind of thing.
and now it's an outsider, which is
Okay.
fine. All of that's fine. And to have the build up into that is completely and totally fine. I don't know if that's what Butcher originally designed it to do. Um,
I
but
don't know. For a while though, he had talked about how the plan where he was like, it's gonna be capped off with an apocalyptic trilogy,
yeah,
and then yeah, the whole thing. So we'll see.
I guess Butcher.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I still think because so far that I know, when he talked about it before, the ending of the last three books are going to be um I believe it's Hell's Bells, Stars and Stones, and then the last one is going to be Empty,
Ooh.
because you kind of see it in this book and the book before, where when they talk about Empty Night and what it actually is, that it is a little bit more of an important
Yeah.
aspect. Like
When
it's
he
not
fights
just,
like
it is a
Dracul,
curse.
things like that.
Yeah, it is a curse for a curse, but it is something infinitely more foreboding. And we can get into people not telling or telling Dresden shit in a little bit, but um, yeah, it's. I still think he is going to be finishing with this. It's a fun little bit,
Yeah. I mean, the man
but
talks about it a lot whenever he like, speaks about the Dresden Files. So.
yeah. And I think the general idea is to end on book 25. That's what he talked about before.
Oh, okay. So we have 8 more
Which,
books.
yes, and if we continue with the numbering scheme that we've had before,
Mm-hmm.
then that book will end with a Nicodemus showing.
Ooh,
Because
fun.
The Black and Denarians and Nicodemus and such show up every 5 books.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it's a fun little but yeah, every 5 books, they may be talked about again, and before then, but yeah, Death Masks, what is it? Small Favor, and then Skin Game were all the Black and Daenerys. And so if everything follows the same way that it does, it will be, um, yeah, it'll probably end up with.
I was gonna say like because I think every book takes place in like a different year until these books. I'm like man,
Mm-hmm.
Dresden's gonna be like middle aged by the time this is done. Like,
Oh, I mean, he already is.
what is he like
Um,
30 something? Like
I
late 30s, I'm pretty sure.
no, pretty sure he's older than,
Really?
because if I'm not mistaken, um, I have to double check specifically.
For some reason, I thought he's. Oh, actually, yeah, he could be like early 40s because I was in the impression he started around 24, 25 from like
Yes.
the first book. Yeah.
But I believe the first book happened like early 90s. Um,
Oh, yeah.
like even though it was released like just like 98, 99, um, believe that it's gonna bug me. I'll look for it as we're talking about other stuff. But
Yeah, I'll come back to that later. But yeah, yeah, there's a lot in here that like I feel like at least like going on back to the book, I feel like Battlegrounds is like a result of like, a lot of just threads just paying off in this book. Like they kind of
Mhm.
just fire one after the other, and it keeps on going along with all the action, and it can be kind of overwhelming. Honestly, I was like reading, I was like, man, I can't put this book down because I'm pretty sure I'm gonna forget like everything leading up to this point if I like, just don't stop reading it now. Like,
Ooh.
like
Yeah. So yes. There was a lot of which sucked as well. I'm gonna say it sucked, but
hmm.
there's a lot of loose ends got tied here, and then the rope frayed like 30 minutes later, and a lot more just got sent out.
Oh yeah, like
Um,
I think it's a shift, like changes was almost where like from one state of like, okay, here's all these plot threads resolving, and here's all these new ones leading to what's probably gonna well, maybe not the end of the series, but like they're gonna be leading towards that like final point there. Like this setup here is gonna be developed over the next few books, and we're gonna
that
have a bunch of payoffs from there probably.
that does work.
Yeah.
Changes like this the battlegrounds and changes has the same fundamental shakedown, where things cannot be the same. The center can't hold. You can't return to the status quo. Um, you have with the Red King and the death of the Red Court, the power vacuum that starts there, which allows to the Fumor.
Yeah, for more.
Fum,
For
yeah,
more?
them coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Is like, do I have to look up how to pronounce that?
It's probably
Screw it, I
some
don't care.
Celtic pronunciation that I can't
Yeah,
bother to look up right now.
it actually starts with a P. We just didn't know.
Oh
But
God.
but with them coming into the limelight because of the power vacuum, like it makes sense, and everything changed. And with Battleground, everything changes here because you can't hide the natural world can no longer the supernatural world can no longer hide from the vanilla world.
Yeah.
Because Chicago went into a war that people participated in. And there's small things that they bring up before where people said it's like a gas leak or such like that, but this is big. Like there's destruction.
Dude, it was
You
an extra
can't,
big gas leak. What are you talking about?
right? You can't can't hide from that.
Yeah. I mean, like they do have a lot of like in lore. I almost said in game for some reason. In lore explanations. Like you know,
Mhm.
they had like the Men in Black start show. Like they just literally like the
Mm.
Men in Black are gonna show up and
The
like
Men in Black
fix
are
this whole
here. We're like, oh
thing.
fuck, yeah, that one was big. It's like,
Will
oh, I'm
Smith.
sorry, I missed that. Yeah,
Like
Jay, is that you?
yeah, but yeah, I was just like, good, okay. And then like I just do like the implication that the mortal world, like, yeah, the Joe Schmo wasn't gonna believe that, but obviously there were governmental organizations that had an awareness of this whole thing and have
and work.
contingencies planned for it, probably.
And it looks like those agencies were, their plan was to just you hide it.
Yeah,
You had agencies like the Black Cat um, agency and such, or special investigations,
yeah,
where it was like you had to physically, like, it happened. There's no running from it. Um, but there is a lot of things that happen that it's really hard to hide about. And one of the things I do enjoy about Butcher, of like, humankind has a really great way of just completely totally looking the other way about things. I mean, we could see it today.
yeah.
It's not a huge stretch, but it does make sense for there to basically be men in black that entire job is to wipe that slate.
I
But
on a really superficial and shallow note, though, when the Apache showed up and laid waste to the Fomor, I'm pretty sure that happened. Unless it wasn't a fever dream, I'm pretty sure that scene happened. But
yes,
yeah, and then like it actually worked. I was like, oh, thank God. So I was like, at least like it's not like every other fantasy like
where
genre
nothing
in general.
happens.
Yeah, where like the humans show up and they have their weaponry, and it's like your weapons are useless against me. I've been dormant for 2,000 years, and your development means nothing. It's like, okay, well,
Well, that is one of the things that they point out throughout predominantly most of the books. Like the the supernatural world keeps it quiet because when the vanilla mortals rise up, there's too many of them, and they're just gonna kill you.
yeah,
That was one of the things. It's like you can be a slobbering monster, but a slug of metal will still go through your brain at the same speed as if you're a normal person.
yeah,
And unless you have two brains, which you may be as a weird Octocong, you're probably still gonna die,
yeah.
which was
His
good.
bottom brain. Oh yeah, that's nice. Because again, I feel like that amount actually adds stakes to the story. Because sometimes when it's
Yeah,
like that separation there, where it's like these monsters can't be killed by human means, it's like, well, obviously only like the hero can take care of it, and like it kind of kills tension for me a little bit, and also it kills believability for me in a way because like I don't like it when like all this human development and everything like that, and it's absolutely useless because whatever, like I guess. But again,
yeah.
that's a really superficial thing on my end. Like I just
No,
enjoy it when that happens. But yeah,
it is. It is good for the story,
yeah.
because if you have this happen now, killing a Titan with it, that would have been lackluster. Which
Oh
it
yeah,
didn't.
because the Eye of Baelor was some crazy stuff.
Crazy ass shit.
Yeah, I was like, oh,
Um,
that's cool. It's a mobile laser cannon.
what I always wanted, a nuke. Yeah, there, it makes sense and everything works for it. But it is good.
Yeah, and I think like that's kind of like ties into what I like a lot about the Dresden Files, though, is that again this is maybe superficial to some people, but like I just enjoy how everything feels like, hey, if this actually happened, it probably would occur this way. It's not a super like ridiculous like mage battle where like it looks cool, but at some point you're gonna think like, throwing around all that magical energy is gonna make someone tired, or like this dude getting hit in the face probably would make him lose concentration or something about this, like would turn the tide of battle rather than have like this anime-esque like they've been fighting for 30 days and neither
Ooh,
one's been tired kind of thing. Like that would, like I feel like I just enjoy like how things are like quick and dirty here. Like it's almost like to be even extra nerdy about this. It's almost like a D&D thing where it's like, yeah, this entire thing that you took 4 hours to discuss happened in real time in a matter of like 2 minutes.
yeah.
And it's kind of like, okay, yeah, a lot of things happen and a lot of things just turn the tide within the span of those 2 minutes. And like his descriptions fit that pace, and I enjoy that.
That's
Yeah.
that's one of the fun things that I really love about the Butcher did it really well in Codex Alera and in Dresden Files. Like you're kind of saying, fighting is tiring.
Yeah.
And so throwing out shade, I guess, at One Piece. Yeah, when you're fighting for like 30 days in a row or something like that, like it makes sense, but there's always those questions that I had is like, did you take time? Were both of you like, okay, like timeout? I gotta go get a juice box and nappy nap, or were you fighting for 30 days? Because it doesn't, it loses that sense of realism far more than just, oh, they were throwing magic around, and that is fine. But these fights being, oh, I'm just going to duke this out with somebody, and it's gonna take 4 minutes, and I'm gonna feel like I died after,
Oh
makes
yeah,
so much more sense.
like the beginning of this book where he fought a kraken, and it was
Right?
like he was at the end and he was like, he was like, it's I haven't even started yet. Oh my god.
Right?
I can't imagine being in a situation like, okay, we're gonna go into the city and we're gonna save and then you just get tentacle whipped. And it's like, dude.
That book opened up with a fight with a kraken, and I was like, here we go.
Yeah. And then, even like acknowledge it. He's like, I haven't even made it to the city yet, and I'm already like just tired.
Yeah, I'm already done with this. I would like to go back and get a nappy nap.
Yeah, it's great.
Um,
And I feel
but
like I feel like that's what the series does well. Where like I like to compare it to like a high fantasy thing. The combat, like the some of the battle descriptions in Wheel of Time, I feel like went on for a really long time. Like particularly the one where like they're like cleansing that city, I think, or cleansing the like
the
not
one
only
source.
important, yeah, cleansing the magic source. That went on for a
Same.
while, yeah, a while, and then
Which
which kind of makes
there's
sense because there was like multiple battles going on, but in a way,
yeah,
like I prefer the more focused, like you have this one guy and here's everything else going on, kind of thing.
yeah, and that one worked, and that's one of the good parts about Butcher's writing,
Yeah,
the Dresden Files, and it is predominantly focused on Harry.
yeah,
It's the side stories will go to different people, but it's just Harry. It's his viewpoint, it's his idea, which is great because you get things like in changes, um, where he wakes up from falling brick, and then is paralyzed. Um, but then you find out later on that he woke up earlier. He talked to Molly. He had her raise his memory, and then there's even further along you have in you find these out in Ghost Story. You have what is equivalent to it's kind of, for me it was always up in the air of either Lucifer or um oh, that's gonna bug me, Nicodemus's devil angel
oh man, what is his name?
phone.
What is their name?
um but anyways, um this there's things happen there that and Duriel, I knew it started with an A.
Okay.
But you've got his whisperings that happen that you don't see, because no matter what, Harry is still a
He's not omnipotent.
yes, he is a human being, which is really great because you allow for twists and turns that happen because of the fact that it is from his and he is the easiest equivalent of an unreliable name.
I
That's
do
what he's supposed to.
I do love like when he's narrating. It's like I went to tell him the plan. I told him the plan, and
Yeah,
I'm here like, dude, just like, what's the plan?
and it's one of the things. Eventually we're gonna have to talk about Battlegrounds. It's
Yeah.
one of the things that I do enjoy because of the
Spoilers,
fact,
people. We love the Dresden Files. So
yes,
yeah, here we are.
it's a fun thing because all of these stories feel like the original stories feel like case files, and that's why they are what they are, and that's why they're titled what they're titled. But they're files for his case, as if he's writing a journal, or those entries that we see Ebenezer have of this is what happens in my life. Because the book Peace Talks ends with, not ends, but one of the lines in the last few chapters of Peace Talks is, and that's the moment where I knew nothing would be the same. And Butcher is amazing with those one lines. He's one of my favorites. Where it's just like this one random, almost an address to the
Whoever's
reader.
reading it, yeah.
Yep, this is where I knew everything changed, which was great. Um, and that is me paraphrasing and predominantly not the exact line, but I don't want to look it up. Screw you.
Thanks, dude.
Right, you look it up for later for me, Kyle. Um, but yeah, it's one of those fun things where there is this like somebody else is reading this later on, which is a fun little way to write this story. Also, side note, Harry is 6 when
Sorry,
Stormfront.
you cut out and it said Harry is 6.
He is
He's
Harry is 26
26. Okay, he said
at
he is 6 on Stormfront. I'm like,
that's a lie.
that's impressive. I'm like,
He is 25
25. Okay.
at the start of Stormfront.
Okay.
It's within a year or two of the 2000s generally, so it's either 1990 or 2000.
It's also kind of hard to apply aging to Harry Dresden though right now because as a wizard he ages slower. So
Yes.
yeah.
Well, that's not unlike so far that I know, unlike he addresses this in like I think like book 8 or book 9, where eventually he starts looking at the older brother to Thomas.
Okay. Yep.
Because Thomas looks like he's young and will look like that until he dies.
Yeah.
Or until he gets vastly older. For what I know about the Wizards is they start to slow down in their 50s or so. If from what I'm assuming, because Morgan still looked pretty good.
Yeah.
Like he looked
how old is
wizened.
Ebenezer?
Ebenezer is a lot.
Yeah, he's a lot. He's real old.
I do know that Morgan was born somewhere in the 1800s.
Okay. That makes sense.
Because apparently he fought for Britain in World War II.
Oh, well, okay. All right. Also, taking into account that Harry's also the Winter Knight, which I'm going to assume, does that affect age? Who knows?
No, they're mortal people. They're supposed to die.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
So far that we know, they are literally just supposed to die. Lucio was born. Yeah, I mean they're supposed to be mortal.
I know. Yeah.
They're able to get away around the guidelines. I say guidelines. The rules of the Fae. They're supposed to be mortal. They're supposed to die. So I don't think they're supposed to live super long because you would just get a new. And Summer Night was supposed to combat the winter, and the winter was predominantly aggressive. McCoy is generally considered around 300 years old.
Okay.
Him
and that man can still throw down.
Right? McCoy and Langtree, so the Merlin, were, I believe, born around the same time. That's, I think Butcher stated that at one of his things. But, yeah, apparently around 1716, Ebenezer and Arthur Langtree, when they're both like, but yeah, regardless, that's generally, so, and funny enough, Stormfront being in like the 2000s, like, so Harry right now is just going on to, he's 45.
Man.
If I'm not mistaken. If we put Stormfront starting in the 2000s, and if stating grave peril and such happens now, yeah.
That's pretty nuts.
Actually, no, never mind. I apparently, that makes sense. Even though we had a 6-year time skip because the hiatus, the world of the Dresden Files didn't.
Okay, yeah.
So technically, you were right because it's been about 14 to 15 years after
Stormfront.
So he's around 40.
Okay.
But yeah. But of course, there's still some backup. But so far that I know, yeah, they're gonna get to probably around like 50 or 60, and then he's gonna start to slow down because like like I said, Morgan looked good, not good. Like he looked older, but he was around 200 years old. So I think he will start to slow down soon. But at this point now, it's stated that I think it's like book that Harry looks like the older brother.
Okay,
So he is starting to get older, so he won't stay looking. Um,
I
but
gotcha.
he'll still be a wizard for very long,
Yeah, and wizards only get better with age. So
just like cocaine.
yes,
And
just like
fine wine,
yeah, mainly cocaine.
just the cocaine.
Yeah, just
Um,
moving
but
back to battlegrounds again.
right.
Oh yeah.
All right. So to keep this on focus, because I think we got enough of our let's talk about the series.
Yeah.
Do we start with Peace Stocks or we start with Battleground?
Uh, okay, let's try to be sequential. Let's start with peace talks.
Oh, okay.
All right.
So I think I enjoyed Peace Stocks. Like you said, we kind of hit on it. There's a lot of setup to a lot of threads were wrapped up in Peace Stocks.
Yeah.
And I felt like that was a good way to do it because Battlegrounds was going to change the game in every regard. That
Even like I feel like there's a lot of resolution of things in battleground as well.
there is.
Yeah.
Some of the bigger stuff there is. Well, some things I would say that there's a couple things that don't resolve but get built upon in Battlegrounds that make you feel like this is the story.
Yeah.
But a lot of the small shit kind of gets wrapped up, I feel, in
And again,
Peace Talks.
peace talks is like the opportunity to do that. So
Yeah,
makes sense.
it's that build up.
I do like I think the pacing here in peace talks as well too did it well. Where like it gave a life in Harry's peaceful life.
Yeah.
And then was like, okay, now everything's falling apart again. So here we are. It's like,
Oh, God, what is it? Conjuritis?
oh yeah,
That was great.
it's so weird.
It was the first time that appeared. I had to reread it a couple of times to figure out what the hell just happened.
Yeah,
But I do like the ability of like you're a
I'm
wizard when they
sneeze.
get older,
I'm gonna sneeze, just bricks at you.
just get sick and start apparating basically just items that they're thinking about.
Didn't he? I'm pretty sure he used that to his advantage once, though.
He got lucky. I don't think it was something that he wasn't trying to do it. He was just thinking about something and it happened and it worked out for his advantage.
Could you imagine just being that dude though, who's like, "I'm gonna get him," and then the dude just sneezes on you, and you're like, "I've been bested." What the?
Yes, there's the anvil that's crushed me.
Like, what in the world?
Right. There was I think the big thing with Maggie, like establishing. I think you're right. Establishing that viewpoint and such like that of seeing Harry in his personal life is good. I almost
And
wish,
also that there's a bond between him and his daughter. Like we get that in
yeah.
Skin Game. Yeah, we definitely get that in Skin Game when like he finally talks to her. But
Oh boy, are you mad at me? Is one of the worst lines I'll ever read.
I'm like, ooh,
Every time. Yes. Just Maggie looking down at him from the stairs. Are you mad at me? It kills me every time.
oh, dude, I tear up every time they interact. I'm like, I'm like, why would you do this to me?
All right. It's one of the downsides about the series because I know that Butcher is writing story. A lot of the build and bonds come from the side stories.
Yeah.
Which in some way sucks. And in some way it's great because it's not a part of the main series because somebody somewhere is going to bitch that I don't care about Molly or the daughter or anything like that. I just want to see Harry. We see that
it's
all the
funny
time.
though because like I eat that up so hard.
Oh yeah,
I'm like,
it's a good story, but
it's almost like I could read about these characters just like having a day, and I probably wouldn't enjoy it.
There's a story for that. There's a good I about said one shot.
It's in Case Files, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just out there. You could probably find it. It's a big zoo day, and it's a story set up from Harry, from Maggie, and from Mouse's perspective. Yeah. And we've talked about it, and it's good to see. And there's a lot of things that open up in there. Like number one, Mouse is one of Mouse's older brothers is still alive and is an evil food dog, basically. There's a weird spiritual presence that only kids can see, and they get basically, I'm gonna call it the cooties, but it's not really the cooties, and they get like weirdly malicious demons inside of them. Uh, that
Yes. That's what
you
it explains
forget
why
about
little
when
kids
you
are such not nice people.
right.
Yeah.
And then as you grow older, you forget about it, and they move on to another body. And Harry runs into a warlock, and it was a good story, but it does establish some of the fun, some of the side stuff. Like, and it's perfect as a side story for me because it's not the story parts of it weren't important. It was just them being and existing.
Yeah.
Great. Um, One of the other side stories in there is uh, Waldo's perspective of him being taught, and it's whenever he gets a calling from God, it's a quest icon, like a
From World of
exclamation point,
Warcraft.
like
Yeah.
you would get from WoW.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what he would see. But that's big. That's part of the training. It's not huge. It's not huge for the story, but it is good to see that instead of just like Dresden saying Waldo's been training, you see the training. But the one that did get me was there's another short story in there, um, between Molly. It shows what she's been doing since she's been the Winter Lady.
And Carlos.
And yeah, and
Mhm.
I don't know if you read that one. Did you?
I have not, but you told me what happens.
Yeah.
So I like
So
when we encountered Carlos again. I'm like, oh,
yeah, so you see Carlos in this book,
hmm
predominantly maimed, but like physically, just not destroyed, but he's been harmed. Like he's got a limp, he's got a cane. He's not the
even
Carlos
even
that.
like emotionally, he's pretty shaken too.
Yes, and you could, if you know what's happened, you can see his responses to when he talks about Molly or something that happened. And you can also, if you know that story, you know why not Michael, why Carlos pushes so hard on Harry. Like, you need to talk to me, because I thought I was in good standings with Molly, and then we went and bumped and did the horizontal eight-legged shuffle, and my spine was destroyed,
Yeah,
and she basically bloodied me, uh, and she lost it,
that sounds like a great night. I don't know what you're talking about.
right? And so that's why like it's important, and that's huge story stuff that's just kind of here. It's in the side story, which is fine. The only reason why it works is because Harry doesn't know it.
And also,
And
it's
when
because it gives a sense that the world moves on even after these like. It's not just the world is not just contained to whenever Harry is like doing something.
yeah,
So
which all of that was fine, but that's one of the good parts about when you're doing a story that is predominantly always from Harry's perspective. It's good to see like Harry doesn't know about this shit because Harry wasn't there, which is great. Like all of that works out. Um, Going into peace talks, some of that stuff was established. It's one of the reasons why Carlos was so on edge with Harry, because he had already predominantly been, I'm gonna burn, but it's not the great. He's been destroyed by technically somebody that was a friend of his that became somebody attached to the Winter Court. And Harry's right there, has been there longer, is terrifying in his own right, and just won't extend that measure of trust. Um,
yeah, I
it's
get
one
that,
of
but still, that whole thing at the end where it's like the White Court, the White Council has
oh
decided
yeah,
to be like, nah, bro. It's like, all right, well, dude, come on. It's like,
well that's what it comes down to. Is it's one of those downsides of Harry. It's really funny, and I think Butcher did it on purpose. Murphy was like that, really a lot in the early parts of the book, where she's like, I don't trust you. The moment you lied to me, it's gone. And Harry didn't extend that offer of trust either. Like, they worked together, they were friends, but it wasn't like a, yo, I'm gonna trust you with this till book 3. And then it was like, all right, now I have to trust you.
yeah,
Here we go. And that worked. The moment he told Murphy what was happening, the actuality of it, he extended the trust, she extended the trust, and it worked from there. But no matter what, Dresden has already been down this road, which is fine because Dresden is not a perfect character. He's already seen what happens when you extend this trust, and he's got the ability to.
At the
Now
same
there is
time,
the
though,
worry.
like we also realize that he
You've
extended his
got
trust to
Nemesis.
Murphy. Yeah, he extended his tough trust to Murphy too, and well, she died. So
Yes,
yeah,
but
so
that's that's not really necessarily um like her. You can connect the dots to be like Harry bringing her into this world is the reason she's dead, but Carlos doesn't have the same limitations as Murphy. Like saying that Butcher does an amazing job with predominantly making Dresden not the hero of most of the stories. Like especially books up to like book 11 and 12.
well, not
Generally, some
not like the powerhouse hero. He's more the like, hey, I gotta do this thing so you can
yeah,
do your thing kind of thing.
but generally someone else either saves his ass or takes care of what needs to take care of, so Harry can be in the right place at the right time, which is fine.
Hmm.
It establishes that he is strong, but he requires others.
Yeah,
Um, Carlos is amazingly strong. He's not, and he's. It's not the same as keying him in. Now I understand there is worry of like Nemesis is still on the prowl. So
yeah.
if I tell Carlos, Carlos is a dangerous factor, and if he's like, all right, cool, and decides to glob me with, corrosion magic, I'm gonna die.
I'm
And
gonna
I
disintegrate.
understand that one.
Yeah,
It's one of the downsides of Harry being hurt at the end,
yeah,
but predominantly in peace talks before anything big happens, he has the opportunity to extend trust, and he doesn't. And then Carlos has to respond by being like, "All right, well now you're an unknown, so I've got to figure it out," and thus it leads to the combative nature between Harry's like, "Why would you do this to me?" and Carlos is like, "Because you didn't trust me." Well, now you don't trust me because you didn't trust, and it's a back and forth that's very
and well,
real.
it's like
And
in a way, like I feel like that because now I'm wondering how they're gonna handle that whole situation with Carlos's like partners getting turned into pretty much. I'm pretty sure they get turned into like black court
oh,
vampires.
so far
So
that we know, yeah.
like because they were like we're hunting them down together and like yeah, and now it's like will they do that because like they established that and now it's like I don't know
No,
anymore. So yeah,
maybe
yeah,
because like Wild Bill and such like them, Yoshiro I think is one of the others.
yeah. And
Those
then
are those are
who fell into the portal?
I think it was not Wild Bill. It was Stag. Nickname. It was the British chap.
Yes,
Um, but yeah, those weren't just Carlos's men. Those were Harry's as well.
yeah.
Those were other like um, those were the wardens that worked with Harry the most because they were younger and they didn't look at him as being weird ticking time bomb
Yeah.
until then. So theoretically, Harry may put it aside and go and help him, and I
Well, I'm
honestly
pretty
think
sure
he would.
I feel like Harry put it aside. I'm not really sure about Carlos at this point. Like,
I believe Carlos will as well
I mean,
because Carlos. Carlos.
it's a good plot thread they can follow for a book. So, like with that logic,
Mhm.
yeah, he probably will. Like, realistically, like, not saying that this is anyone's like this is like one particular fault in Carlos or Dresden, but like the way that their interaction was in Peace Talks and in Battleground, it's like, dude, this is spiraling like way downhill right now, kind of thing.
Yeah, and there's it's a fine line. It's a two-way street that Harry definitely doesn't help, but Carlos doesn't dislike or distrust Harry. Um, the reason why, like he says that he has to, and he does eventually, and he treats him like a suspect kind of way. But Carlos wouldn't extend as many opportunities if he didn't care about Harry like he did.
Oh yeah, no,
Uh,
no, it does, but it's also like I don't know. The way I was reading it towards the end, where they were like discussing everything, is like almost like Carlos is like, "This is all your fault," kind of thing. It's like, I mean,
it is.
like yeah, like in a way, I was kind of like, I feel like he could have handled it better when he first addressed Harry when they first confronted him, I guess, in peace talks, because it starts off like, "Hey, we don't trust you at all now." Like, and then we gotta do all these things, and like that gradually built up to where Harry's not innocent in any of this, so it's like,
Well,
I think it's like,
there's
I feel like it's the matter of like, I think at that point when at the end of Battleground, both are in the mindset of this is your fault, and there's no like acknowledgement of like, hey, maybe we should come to a compromise here.
Well, see, there's a big difference between when Carlos first goes up to him. The White Council doesn't trust Harry.
Mm-hmm.
Carlos and Co. Do. That's why Carlos goes to talk to him in the first. And there that is that fine line because for Carlos he's got to be the entourage, but and of course this is all subjective to a person's standpoint, but there's a lot of things that Carlos does that shout to me like, "Yo, my boss says I'm not supposed to talk to you, but I'm gonna go talk to you because I trust you."
Yeah,
And then
and then like Harry being Harry, got super set off when I think what probably set him off was the whole thing where it's like he's had sexual relations in the past and like recently, and then like they're like, who was it with? And he's like, dude. Like,
yeah, well, and like I said, that one I can understand. I think it's not just that; it's also the kind of like the tracking and such like that. But there's
yeah.
enough reasons to be like, and I can understand why Dresden gets mad at it. I can also understand why Carlos would have to do it
Oh yeah,
because
totally.
if Harry was in a sane sense of mind, he probably would have done the same thing. Um, and that's great for storytelling because it's predominantly pot
Well, I don't
calling
know if
kettle.
Harry would is following of the White Council because he's never been very stringent on like following the rules very much.
Oh yes,
Yeah, so
but it also does come into a play of if, and one of the things we do see is like in the earlier books when you go into like a supernatural standing, Harry will fall in line to form basically a unified front. So he may not deal with the Wardens, he may not really agree with them, and if it's like, yo, we're gonna leave a kid behind, he's gonna go in there. But if it's going against supernatural threats that are also monsters, Harry will step in line to form the like, I don't trust them, but they're far better than you, so I'll be in this line.
I gotcha.
Um,
I think that's more
and
like a like at least more short term in Harry's part. Like he'll help them
yes,
for this short time, and then like at least when
and
it comes from
honest,
Carlos, like I'm not saying like Carlos is like a dude who's like lockstep in like a yes man or anything like that, but like he seems much more like I'm going to follow this authority thing. Or we see with Harry's interactions with Mab that even like Mab has a hard time like telling him what to do because he's like, nah, like
yeah, and and that's the thing because and it's it's predominantly just like a main character syndrome, but Harry's got the the stubborn streak to be able to put up with it. But when you look at everyone else,
hmm
um, you see that they don't. Especially when you look at somebody like Molly, who now there is a little bit of difference because she's now theoretically a Fae, um, the same way that apparently Mab used to be more. Um,
that was crazy
you
to
don't
think about.
right.
Yeah,
You don't know, and apparently, um, the Titan knew her before. There's a lot of things to go over here.
yeah.
Uh,
A lot of things that was like,
but
here's
it
one
does
sentence,
kind
and I'm
of
like,
sit upon the fact that Carlos has already seen what happens with somebody that was good with good intentions but did some bad things, got touched by Winter, firsthand.
mhm.
Um, and Dresden's been there longer and is generally more of a firecracker anyway. So we can go back and forth. Like I said, I don't believe Carlos is completely and
Oh,
totally.
they'll probably amend things later.
Yeah,
Like I have no doubt.
I
Yeah,
honestly, I
but I feel
honestly,
like it's realistic to have that kind of clash, anyways. So
and I honestly don't believe that Carlos predominantly did anything wrong. I feel like with how many times Carlos went to the table with like a just give me something, and Harry didn't for his own reasons that are not clear to like Carlos doesn't know about Nimitz. So there's no like, oh, I understand that's why you're not talking about it. It just looks like I'm gonna stonewall you. I the
yeah,
responses that Carlos did.
it's definitely not as like clear cut as like Ebenezer being like, I just hate the White Court.
I just hate White Court. Yeah, yeah.
Which
Good.
again, given his history with them, somewhat understandable. But then the dude's like, nah, like I will murder them. It's like, dude, like just bring it down a notch, please.
And that's a fun part because yeah, I think that's a good apt comparison because if Carlos if he responded like Ebenezer, there wouldn't be a standpoint, which he doesn't. There's a lot of forethought that goes into this that you are right now an unknown factor. Ebenezer's like, the White Court took my daughter, which is a big reason.
Oh
A
yeah.
la look at what Harry does to the Red Court.
Oh yeah.
Uh, and so it's like they took my daughter from me. It's not gonna. It doesn't matter. They're monsters. They have to be put down. It's explainable, but it also comes from, you need to be able to take that step back and look at something objectively, especially when you find out that one of those White Courts is your grandson as well.
Oh man, that blew his mind. Also, the slight fact that he like that moment he thought he killed Harry. That was
Yeah.
He was like, "Oh
Oh, boy.
no," and then he was like, "You son of a bitch."
Right?
Well, I don't know that he wouldn't say that, but like,
Oh, there would have been like weird Ozark words, but
oh yeah.
sure, yeah. Peace talks. Once again, I feel like we've talked about everything but the book.
We've been talking about peace talks and like
Yeah.
Battleground a little bit,
Peace talks worked out well for establishing situations that came to a head now. You see more power grabbing in the background. You see Marcone being far more dangerous.
Well, extra dangerous now that we know what happened.
Oh yeah, right.
And dude's like, yeah.
But even then, you just see him smart and controlled and contained, which has made him dangerous before.
That's like he's like a villain I enjoy to read.
Yeah,
It's not like a one where I love to hate him or anything like that. But no, it's like no, this guy's competent and knows what he's doing.
Right, and he doesn't have a soft heart, but there's like I'm not gonna just throw bodies away because it's bad for business.
And even like some of the early books do establish that he has somewhat of a heart.
Oh
or
yeah,
a sense of like of twisted honor, I guess.
Not so much. It's not even twisted. He's got the line that he won't cross.
Yeah.
But it's like if you touch a kid, it's just established really early on. If you touch a kid at all, you're dead.
Yeah.
Like you're gone. You're out of there.
Or it's like he's a villain, and it's like I don't really like you from a moral standpoint, but at least like when you're on the scene compared to like literally Satan or something like that, it's like
they established that in the midpoint of the series as well, is like some people believe that Chicago PD doesn't go as hard after Marcone because it's better off than when the mafia family were running it before.
Yeah.
Like less people died there. The drugs on the street in the first book were people going against Marcone. So there's still drugs, there's still bad things going on, but it's not even classy. It's just contained. It's like it doesn't spill into the kids. It doesn't spill into, and it's predominantly just if you want. So far that I've seen, besides the murder, bad.
Oh yeah, murder bad.
If you want to make a bad choice, you step into this world. It's not thrust upon you, which is how Chicago was before Marcone's.
Yeah.
Like you make the choice to be like, I'm gonna run this drug or I'm gonna do this, and then it's like, all right, you're in the world.
To put this into a box, a lawful evil.
Yeah.
There you go.
I think that's a very easy. He's a prime example of a well
Written,
created, lawful evil.
Yeah.
It's not like it's what my character would do. It's like
no, that's chaotic. Dude.
Right. He had a role and he follows it and he doesn't go against it, and it's what makes him tick. But it also works out naturally that it is a character that has won Chicago and larger now. Through steel determination of like this is how it's gonna be,
which makes it all the more funny when wow, I can't believe I forgot the Titan's name. What was her name?
Listen.
Well, it's all the more like hilarious when she shows up. It's like this guy's insignificant. It's like, lady, like come on, like,
right? Oh boy, I was really hoping.
Yeah, I think how it's even like, funnier how like there's parallels between Harry and him now that they both developed.
There's always been.
Yeah.
There's always been, which is great. It's a great kind of thing. It's like yeah, it's one of the great things about it that it is established. They are very similar. They could be very similar. and if Harry wasn't an asshole, they would probably be friends. Uh,
Yeah. But
and,
he's an
or
asshole for a reason, kind of thing. Or it's like,
yes,
if Mark Cohen wasn't a crime lord, they'd probably be friends, kind of thing.
yeah, like, and I don't mean like if Harry was, because there was a reason why he's still a bad guy. He's still a bad man.
Oh, yeah.
Um, God, I can't remember the fucking
What is her
Ethin,
name?
Ethnic, Ethniu. We're gonna call her the Titan Lady.
Titan Lady. Eye
Yep.
Lady. Eye laser
Yeah.
beam.
No, because Ethniu was hard to remember. That's why I couldn't.
Yeah.
Um,
All I know is that she was angry a lot.
she was. Well, there's a lot of established.
Oh, yeah, history there. I know that.
Yeah.
But it's
that-
just like, she was just like, I hate everybody. I'm going to laser beam them. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
And also, like, it was really interesting whenever she was there talking to Mab, because it's like, man, what the heck was Mab's history?
Right. There's a fun little line between like, where it's and what happened. Go, from, which is fine. It's what's going to bring people into this next.
Yeah.
I do honestly believe that Titan Lady was good to establish what happened before, and you basically have people that were there for Mab's beginning. Which the question becomes: is Mab a mortal that ascended to godhood? Which it definitely looks like she is. She kind of states that she is. But who were the gods before? Who was the father that they're basically talking? Well, not father, but there was a male. I'm gonna say the way it established to me was like a parental figure.
Yeah.
That Mab kind of looked to. Who was that? Where it goes from there? Whatever the hell the Empty Night is, what a Starborn is.
Well, I mean, I wonder how much this is tying into like Celtic mythology as well, because I think like the Winter Court and Summer Court are kind of like inspired, if not like taken from Celtic mythology.
They're the Fae. Like they are. I think yes and no. I think the Fae, the Unseelie, the Winter and Summer, I think those are established because they should be and they're supposed to be. But they are from that area. But with how wide-reaching it is, with how Odin and all of them are intermingling, I don't believe that it's specifically just from Celtic lore. I think it's going to be because we've already seen crossover between Odin and Pharaohvax and
is Pharaohvax actually a mythological figure, or is he just like
he is a if I'm not mistaken, I'd have to look it up, but I'm pretty sure he is a mythical dragon already.
yeah, because like I don't know
like,
what mythology he's from though, because if he's from like Norse mythology, like dragons from Norse mythology will have like different power curves, dude. Like,
yes, no, I don't believe. Yeah, I don't know exactly where he is. He's apparently the eldest dragon so far that we know.
Oh yeah, I like how they describe like if he just manifests in his true form, expect everything to break down. Like
right.
That was the neat way of like keeping him out of like the action too. Where it's like, oh yeah, he's just literally holding the entire like seams of reality together. So we gotta hurry.
Basically, yeah. What does he say? He closes. I think he talks about closing the underworld. So basically, they can't move through or beneath the earth. But the more power he's also, like, yeah, bringing everything in and holding it together. But the more power he puts in, the more,
again, this ties back into like everything in the books has a tactical and like useful purpose. It's not like a generic strategy session where it's like you do the thing and then I'll do the thing and then the things will come together later and maybe it'll work out. It's like no, like you are specifically doing this for this reason, and it's that I like that attention to detail because again it makes everything like feel like realistic.
Yeah. Um, it makes us feel like specific, like there's something more.
Yeah.
Um, um, but yeah, Ethnu is Celtic in nature as well.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, like Celtic mythology has some cool things, anyways. I'm not gonna go
yeah,
off into a tangent on that. Just know that one of their best heroes' names is Finn McCool, and you got to be
yes.
a sick dude to have that name. But we're stopping there. Moving on.
Um, yes. So far that I know, um, yeah. Faravax is predominantly spends most of that fight, which he should. Um, predominantly just keeping the world together
Yeah.
among various things and making sure everything goes well.
Yeah.
uh,
Basically,
uh,
eliminating the 4 more advantage as much as he can.
yeah, especially with the ability to kind of move underground. He can't really address the water, but there's a lot of physical components to it that and I think Odin watches the sky, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Um, so it's predominantly just going to be a land fight that like boots on the floor, which is what they needed.
And I was kind of like, when is Thor gonna show up? And then I read more about Thor and mythology, and it's like, dude, Thor is overpowered.
Yeah, he's also a dick. I don't know if I do wonder if Thor's ever gonna show up.
Yeah, because like even like
Um,
Odin, like Odin's kind of a dick in Norse mythology. A lot
yes,
mythology in general, gods are dicks. The end. Like,
yes,
but
I do like the portrayal of Odin in Butcher because it's like he got past the like I'm a dick stage and he became wizened and old.
oh yeah, it's like I always enjoy like like when a mythological figure appears in modern times, and they had like 4 millennia to think things over, and they're like, yeah, that wasn't good times. Like back then when I was an asshole. I want to see Zeus undergo some maturity, please.
Right.
But Zeus
I
being
wonder
Zeus, no. I don't think it's gonna
part
happen.
of me does wonder if the Greek are gonna come into it any because we kind of already saw that because she's Ethnu is wearing Titanic bronze.
Yeah.
So it's like, is this gonna establish more? Where are we gonna go from? Um, any hoozles. On a whole, um, I think Peace Talks, getting back to it, I feel like Peace Talks did well. It did. It was a great kind of deep breath to establish what was coming.
It was a nice calm before the storm.
Answered a lot of questions, opened a couple of questions. You have the establish of Rudolph and I can't remember the other person.
Oh, good old Rudolph.
You have the establish of Rudolph and the other gentleman asking questions. You have nice amounts of moments that, Dresden. There's these moments where he sits there and he's like, "I need to leave Murphy behind. Like, you can't come on this. You're wounded, etc., etc." And it is a big part of her character that she would never step away from this because it is not just so important, but it's city. That no matter what, Harry would never be able to tell her you to sit still and let this pass because that's not who she is.
Yeah.
But it was a good, I guess, tackling.
Lots of good setups and peace talks, pretty much. Like,
Yeah.
and, like establish what happens in battlegrounds and makes it feel believable.
Yeah.
As much as they hated it for happening with like Murphy.
Which, funny enough, a portion of that was on Mab. Because they kind of established before that Mab is because Murphy's a little bit more limber, keeping up, and it's established that Mab is predominantly just raising adrenaline. She's battle meditation.
Yeah.
But she's any of her allies are getting key to the fight, or they're ignoring wounds. She's keeping up, and anybody that's not an ally is feeling hard press of fear. And I guess we could tackle Murphy first.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good.
Oh no, yeah, like it's not the fact that like I hated that it happened, but I didn't hate how it was like done. I guess if that makes any
Yeah,
sense. Yeah.
we had talked about it. There's I read some posts on Tumblr where it's like I hated. I cried for like 20 minutes straight. And I hated it. This book is stupid. And it's like, man, I don't know what you're reading books for.
Yeah.
But um, it. I also that same person talked about how Butcher tends to like champion women's deaths. Like he spends more effort onto their deaths. They're not. I'm
Hey.
not gonna call it more sensual, but he spends more time establishing their deaths than he does for the men in the story. Um, and I kind of
Okay.
so to establish like the two big deaths for Harry are
Murphy and
Murphy and Susan, and
yes.
those are given time and an establishment. It's very like emotional, which don't get me wrong, this argument was completely and totally fucking stupid. But but
Tell me how you really feel,
understanding
dude.
right, understanding how it was. Butcher spends a lot of time. I mean, not Butcher. Dresden's been without a predominantly a female influence in his life for a while.
Well,
Like his
let's also
mother's gone
examine Susan and Murphy, shall we? One is the mother of his child, and
and
he was
lover.
and lover, and he was legitimately in love with her. And the other one was his lover and longtime friend and partner.
Yeah,
So I imagine, yeah, like if like, could you imagine if Murphy just boom, she got shot and died. The end. It's like,
yeah, she's gone.
like, ooh,
Yeah, so like I said, this argument was incredibly stupid because, like Timmy, Shiro's death got just as much upplay because Shiro like gave his life for, but I guess because it didn't feel as emotionally as a hit, because
because Shiro was only in the book. It was only there for one book.
yeah, it's like not like fucking Harry knew him for more than 4 days.
And
So
even
I
then,
can
his
understand.
death is like, dude, it's still sticking with me, kind of thing.
Yeah, and even then, it's still this old man that gives up his life for Harry. So there's this moment where, and it's good. Like all of them's good. Like I said, argument's fucking stupid, but I think it is a sell point for which is a good writing standpoint from Butcher to establish that Harry doesn't have a lot of ladies in his life, and when they go hard, um, because Harry's in their life.
Yeah,
Um, and I think it's an establishment that he's gonna have to start looking at, that he's already started to subconsciously look into, is when I'm in their lives, it becomes supernatural, and generally they pay for mistakes that are their not mistakes. They pay for the choices they make.
yeah,
Um, and that's a big thing. Harry doesn't recognize it, but I know Butcher does. Like Harry will be like, she wouldn't have been there if it wasn't for me, but then Butcher will turn around and have somebody be like, they made their choice.
yeah.
And later on, Harry recognizes that with Murphy, like she is her own person. She makes her choice.
And people would
And
probably say like, oh, she went down so easily. She got shot by Rudolph of all people. It's like, literally 3 pages ago, she killed a fire giant
with a fucking bazooka, right?
straight down the gullet, dude. Like,
Yeah,
let's not discount
that's
that, shall we? Like,
right. And that's the thing, is because it's so funny because she still relies on that standpoint of she is a cop, that she would never believe that another cop wouldn't follow proper trigger discipline.
yeah.
And of course, like I
God damn
said,
it, Rudolph.
it's also because of the fact that there is an established uh Mab is making enemies of the state, basically, and the enemies in this fight feel fear and feel anxious and make mistakes like that anxiety causes,
Hmm.
which is great. It makes sense on every aspect. Um,
You know, like honestly, like some people say like he spends too much time on like I guess Murphy. That woman said he spends too much time on Murphy's death. I thought he didn't spend enough time on it, honestly.
I
And like
and
because
that's
I
one of
think
the reasons that I
and,
wanted to get into it. Is
and
it felt
Battleground. I think in Battleground in general though, like a lot of the emotional moments are like would in a normal Dresden Files book, this would be one emotional moment that like carries throughout the entire book. And Battleground's like here's like 12, and you're like, ah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's because he does a really great job of understanding and recognizing like you can't feel this yet. you have to just keep moving.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then
The
number
reasons
two,
why he doesn't dwell on it are totally realistic, they have time at the end of the book. But
yep.
like, yeah, like it's like
Um,
it's in the moment where it's like I wanted to see the rage more or something like that kind of thing,
right. I wanted to see this man piss himself.
yeah, which he
Uh,
did.
which he does. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, there is that reason that you kind of have to deal with and establish. That it felt natural because of the fact that, and we had talked about this before, is I hate stories where, like, I understand the draw to them where when somebody dies, it's like, all right, they closed their eyes and they went off and they had done what they had meant to do, and it happens. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm glad if anybody just goes and looks and be like, all right, I've had a good life. I mean, I'm happy. That's what we all want.
Yeah.
But most of the time, 9 out of 10 times, you die. There's something else you needed to do. There's something else you wanted to do, and it makes it feel natural because it's like this happens so abruptly because that's death. Um, and it sucked because um, and a lot of people were setting it up that like Butcher was pushing this for because he just kept railing into Murphy that she was broken and she came out, so of course she couldn't be useful, and it's like,
All right. Let's not.
right? It's like I don't know how well that works
Yeah.
because for the established story, it doesn't. Like it's not what Dresden focuses on, and it's not natural. But people can complain about it all they want. But the death felt natural because it was so much like, but there was still more that needed to be done. And you know what, God, I wanted to see that soul gaze between Harry and Murphy
Yeah.
because that's the last one. Um, I want to see a soul gaze from somebody else's perspective into Harry at one point. That's the only, to be honest, it's the only reason why I buy the novellas.
Because you want to see it happen.
Uh, I want to see it happen. I want to see, um, I want to see Harry. I want to see somebody else looking into Harry, and then what do they see? Enough to make most people go, "What the fuck?" But there's something more. Like I just want to see what makes Harry Harry. Maybe they see outsiders. I don't know.
Maybe they see his inner Harry. It's like, oh my god, he has a goatee. What the fuck?
Dressed in black, he's suave as fuck.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like Murphy's death was done well because it sucked. Like if you looked over, because Shiro's was done well, um, because it felt final, and he's like, this man died for a cause. He was, brutalized. Uh,
Yeah.
but it felt like, all right, he had done what he needed, and those are the deaths that I'm used to in a story.
Mm-hmm.
Murphy's felt like there's so much more, and it's gone now.
Yeah, I gotcha. And yeah,
I mean,
I know it's effective in that way. Like again, with the moment that happened, I was like, when I was reading at that point, I was like, okay, I'm gonna read a little bit more, and I'll stop. And then it happened. I was like, oh, I gotta finish the book now, like,
right?
like just to see like the conclusion of all this. I was like, dang,
I remember
it's
I
2
remember
in the
talking-
morning.
I remember talking to you, and you're like, I stopped right here, and I was like, yeah, man, you're real close.
And then,
I've been like
30 minutes later, I was like,
30
well,
minutes later.
I'm about to snap this reindeer in half.
I was like, I remember the first time I read that, I was like, what the hell? Oh, nope, no, he got there. He finally made it. Which, yeah, I don't know. Like I said, everything about it felt natural. Everybody, every character felt a good spot for their own. It was so great to see Waldo step into
his role and become an immovable force of God for like 5 seconds.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's so good to see Waldo establish, and especially in the books, for this. Waldo is like literally this force of faith, and it's not faith in God. It's literally just faith in Harry.
Yeah. It's also like I really really wanted to see a scene where he's like running in with polka music again, and he's like, polka will never die. Like,
Go back to the basics.
Oh yeah,
It was
dude.
good to see Sonya again. It was good to see both of them again.
Yeah.
I'm glad Michael didn't come in again.
Oh yeah.
Not like in the fray. Um, I was
No, I like how he's more of the
it,
mentor figure now.
yeah.
Yeah, rather than
It,
in the thick of it.
it
Although
was
let's be
weird
real, that scene in Skin Games though, where he's like,
when he kicks open the
"Hey yo,
vents.
what up?"
Oh man, I remember reading. I finished Skin Game in a night.
Oh, dude,
I
I read it again like right before Peace Talks and Battleground, and I was like, "This is a good ass book." Like,
yeah I I think I got Skin Game like 6 or so at night,
oh, nice.
and then I went to bed at like 5. I
Welcome to
didn't
me
go to
reading.
classes the next day.
Welcome to me reading Battleground, dude. I was like,
Right?
"Yep, here we are." I finished looking. All right, it's 5 a.m. Oh,
Right? Like I said, I didn't go to classes the next day, and it was worth it for me.
Yeah.
But there was a lot more of an opening in terms of what you're supposed to do.
Mhm.
You do get to see a lot of their power, and I did like and kind of dislike. I mean, Ethnu was outrageously strong.
Oh yeah.
And it seemed to me that it was predominantly because of the pardon me. It was predominantly because of the bronze.
Well, she was
Like, she
difficult
just
to hurt because of the bronze, but everything else
yeah,
about her was super strong, anyways.
and the Eye of Valor.
Yeah, let's not forget said laser eye, which was like she
Right,
fired that a lot, and it made
right,
sense that like she was exhausted, and it still took like a micro army to like of hyper powered supernatural beings to scratch her enough to be imprisoned. like like even with like firing that thing like willy nilly, she was exhausted, still manages to beat almost everybody, and then like Harry gets the last thing off through the help of like what 3 gods, 4
basically.
gods. Like yeah,
And there's the other thing as well. It's like she was not, while she was exhausted. Like there was a time limit on using it, but it was still just her being her.
yeah.
But it is very, yeah. It is.
And then we see Waldo Butters step up to the plate,
Right.
and I was like, dude. Part of it was like, is Waldo's about to die? Like, I was like, and he's like, no, and he like blocks the attack.
Right.
I'm like, oh. And like, believe me, it'd been weird watching me read this book because like I just make facial expressions and like
Right.
do like,
If you're not, yeah. If you're not doing that, what's the point? You're reading wrong. Go back home.
Yeah.
Read in front of a mirror. Laugh at yourself.
I stand up. I'm like, oh shit.
Yes. No, it's hard to get again. Like everything in that book blended well. There was I liked I enjoyed how the normal citizens didn't just fall into like, yeah, we're gonna go fight this war.
No, they were like, oh my god, what's happening? It's like, yeah, okay.
Right. And there were some that were like, all right, this is what we got to do, and then most that were like, I'm gonna get out.
Which made total sense.
Yeah.
I do love how like I have 200 people with shotguns. You're about to see what happens when 200 people have shotguns, and they like lay waste to an army almost. That was pretty intense. It was under his and let's talk about the banner first of all. Like,
oh, I love that.
Yeah.
That idea, and then to see Marcone have it as well.
Yeah.
But just to have this like, almost like Intellectus, that he's had before, but with the people around him, was a really great way to allow Butcher to write a wide-scale fight and pay attention to all of it, even though it's just Dresden.
Yeah. And didn't Mab has stated that she has the exact same ability too, right? Yeah. Right.
Mab's the one that predominantly gave it,
Oh,
if I'm not mistaken. Like
I thought it just manifested within Harry for some reason.
Well, no, because like I said, Marcone has it at the end as well.
How did he get? Oh,
Um,
probably from his fallen
yeah.
angel.
Um, but so far that I know, it is predominantly it is a way of, it's the mantle itself establishing people are part of my pack,
Oh, okay.
and then taking control of them. But so far that I know, um, yeah, it is it is not so much given by Mab, but it's one of the things.
It's like a part of his like winter night mantle thing.
Yes,
So
I think it was established by it, but yeah, because like I said, so far that I know, I could be misinterpreting it. It looked like, uh, I no, I'm pretty sure he addressed it, but Marcone has one too to be able to pull people with him.
yeah,
Um, but oh, we also have to. I guess we next after Murphy
yeah.
and establish talk about Marcone.
Oh yeah.
Um, makes absolute total sense.
Oh yeah, but it was just like his neck snapped. I'm like, damn, he just
I was
got
like, all
killed
right, there
off.
goes
Like,
Marcone.
holy and then he stood back up. I'm like, what?
Excuse me, good sir. I need you to stop.
He's like, I have a fallen angel with me. It's like, oh boy. Like,
Right,
and not only is it a fallen angel, it's a fallen angel that's really good at magic.
right. It reminds me of It reminds me of the moment where you have talks about um like the can't remember the spell, the one that Mark
There's a lot of
like,
names I need to remember.
right? Why didn't you write these down, bitch?
Because I'm not good at this.
um um but yeah, trying to remember exactly. But I think it starts with an I. Ariel. Find it. Yeah. Nope. Ariel is with Tessa, so she's the man.
Wait, Tessa's the. Was she
His,
the lady in Skin Games?
uh, yes. No. Tessa's Nicodemus's wife.
Oh, Derp. Yeah. Okay, never mind.
Um.
No. Yeah, the one he got was the one that that lady had, and it was left in the vault. Right.
Which one?
It was the one that. What was her name in Skin Games? It was the lady who controlled fire really well.
Oh no, that was Lash. That was Lash.
Oh yeah. God, man. Ugh.
It's okay. There's a lot. Yeah. No. Yes.
This is all on me too, because I should remember this. So it's like.
It's okay. No. That is Lassiel.
Yeah.
Lash. But Asher.
The
Hannah
pseudo
Asher.
mother of his mind baby.
Yeah, well, not the pseudo, the mother of his mind baby.
No, the actual mother was like the. Was it the mental copy of her who like was
I
separated
could see
from her?
him. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, even though like she still wants it. I don't know. It's a weird one. But yeah,
What a weird discussion. It's like,
right?
so I had this bind baby with the shade of a fallen angel. It's like, sir, what crack are you smoking?
Yeah.
Yeah, but moving back to Battleground.
No, Thorm Namshiel is the sorcery one.
Oh, okay. Did it explain how he got that one? Was that one from when like they died in the vault?
No, because Thorn was never there.
Okay.
No. The last we see of Thorn is he's like half a body up in Demon Reach when Michael gets shot.
Oh yeah. Okay.
But he Thorn is the one that steals all of the coins assumed from Harry, but we don't know what happens to Thorn after. But all we know is that Marcone hasn't. But he is a sorcery teacher, which that one was super funny at the end where Marcone is doing these high level sorcery such, and Harry's just like, I need you to stop bumping my arm. I'm trying to stab a bitch.
Yeah. It's like, excuse me while I try to stab this Titan with the weapon that killed Jesus Christ.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the entire time, like, don't think about the dagger. Just don't think about the dagger. And then he puts the dagger on his staff, like, it's the spear that killed Jesus Christ. I'm like, oh, God.
Right. I have to go. Part of me wants to go back and find Harry.
Actually, how did we skip over, like, yeah, I wish Greek gods would get involved, and he literally went into Hades' vault.
You're right.
I just really, I was, wait a second. Like, I'm dumb.
But part of me wonders, like, with I can't remember when Harry makes staff, and I think it may be established.
I think it's established that he doesn't actually have, like, all his stuff as up to code as he'd like in Battleground.
Yes.
Where he's like, the
No.
shield bracelet sucks. The staff
Yes.
sucks. I don't have my blasting rod. Oh.
But I remember in one of the short stories he talks about making it, but I think he, instead of the rings, he basically builds that same thing into the staff. The staff is good. The staff is what he makes from. He makes it from a tree from Demon Reach. So like the staff is predominantly one of the only thing that he's like, yes, here we go. But part of me was like, at what point where you're like, I'm just gonna put this little contraption on the top of my staff so I can put a dagger in here, and now it's a sticky stick.
It's like, and you just put the slot in like this, and it's time to kill a Titan.
It's like that was one of the moments. Was like, when did this come up? Like, when were you like, I know what I have to do. I have to turn my stick into a staff for the spear. And I'm like, when were you like, this is my plan?
Like, if in case I need to put this on to seal and crazy horror. I don't know. Like, it's hard to define what
I don't know.
The Titan lady is, except the Titan. But you know.
But no. Through it all, I feel like they he did a really great job of making humans powerful enough it wasn't a crapshoot.
Oh yeah.
They died like, but
like,
they did.
Like a human would, but like they also had the technology that a human has. And
they
oof.
Right. The Titan was still incredibly powerful, which it should have been. Like that's what you want from your story. Is like this is a threat. It is something to look into. There was more than enough. There was more than enough of a focus upon what's happening, where it was like, all right, here's where we're going. I do like the establishment Listen being better and better at his job.
Oh yeah.
I do like the mental assault of Ethnu on Harry. Like,
oh yeah, like your family's dying, or like That one was I was like, bruh.
Yeah, they were already dead. Like she sent Listen to do it like 2 hours ago.
Yeah.
But I did also enjoy that because which it was one part that I was a little iffy on, but where she's like, they're already dead, but Listen missed that Mouse was gonna be there, so maybe I think chalking it up to Ethnu, not Listen himself, because I'm pretty sure Listen said something about him.
Yeah.
But that she didn't think that Mouse was important was enough to be like, oh, okay, this is wrong.
Oh, excuse me. Check out this magical giant dog.
Right?
Like, for some reason, when he first like got Mouse, I was like, my mind was like Pitbull. I was like, and then I looked up what he actually looked up. I was like, why did I think Pitbull?
Tibetan Mastiff, one of my favorites.
Oh my god, dude!
Those things are huge and terrifying.
No, what are you talking about? Those are cuddly.
Have you seen an angry one?
Have you seen a docile one?
Yes.
And they're the best.
But
I will ride that into battle. What are you talking about?
Oh god. Tibetan apparently for 1.5 million.
Tibetan Mastiffs are $1.5 million.
Well, for the Big Splash, which is a very well. But anyways, You can apparently buy one for around 2,000 to 4,000 USD.
Look at that fluffy doggo.
Right? Have you seen them angry though?
I see the angry one where he's like
Right?
he's a massive fur and then like just a little bit of teeth.
Teeth. Yeah, it's terrifying. I hate it. I'm scared.
I love it.
I love it. I want 7.
Like my daughter's like, we're living in like an Arctic like just area. It's like, I want a dog. It's like, you know what you're getting. Like,
You're getting the best damn dog you'll ever find.
yeah.
But sorry, getting back to it. I forgot. Ethnu kills Christos. Yes.
Oh, from the White Council, yeah.
Yes, which is great. 'Cause he was a dick anyway.
Which is great because he was an asshole. I do like how it took a literal titan to kill Hendrix out of all the supernatural things.
Right,
That
and
like he fought.
And it's one of the fun things about it that it strikes me as either Hendrix didn't know that Marcone was, that had the Denarian.
Yeah.
It's either that or he died to hide the secret that Marcone had the. Which, with how Marcone with his people, I'm gonna chalk it up to he doesn't know.
Yeah.
Or he didn't know.
Or he was literally just acting on instinct as a bodyguard.
Well, yes.
Yeah.
But I think if in those circumstances, I think if Hendrix had known to be able to through this, then I don't know if he would have done that. But yeah, I mean, also oh boy, yeah, and then it's just this fight between.
Oh yeah, it was like the amount of like that was just a roller coaster. That whole fight with her, It was just like, yeah, we're doing all right. It's going bad now. She's killing everybody. Here's some friends. You're doing great, and then it's going down. It's like, dude.
Because I think she ends up fighting. He summons Titiana.
Yeah, she first shoots Mab with the Eye of Balor.
Yeah, which she just.
Mab tanks it, which is impressive.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
She's like, ooh.
Like it hurts.
I need to cure wounds in aisle 1, please.
Yeah, and then Molly shows up to fight the army. Right? That's what happens first.
What was that?
It's like the Eye of Balor happens, and then Molly shows up to fight the army with her army.
Yes. Well, I think Molly's already there. So far that I know, it's.
Well, it's like it's mainly like Harry. It's Harry's small like group first with Mab.
Yeah.
Because Mab's trying to lure them in, and then Molly finally like.
Yes.
Either
Molly's there.
She like dispels her glamour, and the army's there, kind of thing.
Well, she's been fighting off on the side, but her army is bringing close enough to basically push against Corb. Yeah. King Corb. Yeah.
King Corb. Yeah.
Enough to like fight against him. And then I know there's the attack that you're talking about where Butters, no, kind of thing.
Yeah, and then after that, everyone else shows up, kind of thing.
Harry summons, calls out for Titiana.
Yes.
Which brings her in, and the rainstorm, which grounds the magic for the eye.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's so much just chaos energy in the area.
Well, yeah, it's the pure fear and everything like that.
Yep. That was also a really great standpoint as well. That was one thing I really, really loved, because if Harry runs out of juice quickly, which he should, one of the established limitations, like when you're pulling it from yourself, eventually you get tired. But Harry's throwing out shit left and right.
Yeah. Ebenezer throws out a lot of stuff usually too, but then again, he's also old, and he's like, I know how to draw this stuff from the environment, probably, kind of thing.
Well, no, like no matter what, you have to draw it through yourself. But he's far more focused. Like so far that we know, Harry is like, I'm gonna put as much power into this, and it's going to go out.
I'm gonna use some soul fire on this.
Yeah.
I love how I'll put some soul fire into this ice and make bigger ice. And I was like, I dig it.
So far that we know, when you get better with time, it's not so much that you do more destructive things, but you learn to focus what you have. I think of it akin to very much like the what is it, the argument in Naruto where it's like Naruto has a shitload of chakra, so he's just throwing stuff out there, and Kakashi doesn't, so he's got to be very specific with how much he uses.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same thing. But one of the things they establish is there's so much energy in the air, they're casting spells out of that, which is a great way to make this not like he's 1/4 of the way through the book and Harry's tapped out, but he still keeps fighting throughout the next 75% of the book. There's an explanation of why he can just keep throwing fireballs out. It's because there's just so much energy everywhere that he's pulling from that instead of himself.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It's kind of like Demon Reach is like a hub of ley lines.
Yep, which you shouldn't tap.
Yeah.
Well, it's not so much ley line, so far that we know. I think there is one ley line that runs to it. Like I know there's a couple of them that are supposed to run to it, but well, they are ley lines, but it comes from Demon Reach, not running through it,
okay.
and it's from the things that are imprisoned away.
Which is terrifying to think about.
Yes, which is one of the. So it's basically like one of those ley lines is pulling power from a Titan. Would be the equivalent of what they just did, which is why Ebenezer basically states never tap into it.
Oh, okay, makes sense.
Because you're pulling power from one of them, and you can easily lose.
That's like a dude. Like, I like how like after all that he captures her, and then like it's always implied like there's probably far worse in Demon Reach, anyways.
Oh yeah,
and it's like you like I don't like it.
It's one of those things like when Merlin threw that shit up, and like that man broke like certain laws of magic to put up a prison that went through space and time.
Yeah.
Which was cool.
And now Thomas is in there. like...
Right.
Which Laura got justifiably angry at it.
Yeah, which I don't think she knows why he did it until but and why he did it until it's like, all right, he's gone kind of thing.
For a long time I thought Demon Reach was going to be his new base of operations, but as we see at the end of the book, he's like, I want my building back, you like
right. I honestly believe Demon Reach would be too far away. It's one of the things that he gets into. It's
and
like
that's also the whole thing where anyone who comes on the island goes crazy.
Or yeah, they're so afraid they hate it kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I think that happens in games after Cold Days and stuff like that, where he comes back.
He's in the embassy by the time of peace talks, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because he wants to live with his daughter, which makes total sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's in Cold Days where he's like, where he comes back to Chicago and he's like, nobody came to visit me. I believe it's
it's
Skin Game. It's Skin Game.
Yeah, Skin Game.
Yeah, where he's like, nobody wants to come and talk to me, and it's like, you need to understand that place is fucked up.
Yeah, Cold Days was like, I'm the Winter Knight now, and it sucks.
Yeah. Ooh, here we go.
Yeah.
But there was a nice little kind of flow to it that made Demon Reach be like, all right, well, this is where it's gonna be. But it was so far away that it's like it can't be here, kind of thing, because there's no quick way to go in and out. You could summon. I mean, you could do a portal, but that would be terrifying.
I think it was like Harry in the middle of I need to be away from everyone, where it was like he's probably gonna establish in Demon Reach, and then the moment he meets Maggie, he's like, nah. like,
oh yeah,
that's probably like that moment where it's like, okay, well now he's going back. I wouldn't say going
no.
back to how he used to be, but more like he's breaking out of the whole like I need to be alone state.
Harry didn't want to be alone. Like he stays on Demon Reach because Demon Reach can put away the quote unquote parasite. Yeah. So at the end of Skin Game,
that's fun.
Or at the end of Cold Days, he knows he has to stay there or else he would die.
Yep.
But I don't know if that's specifically like. I think there is a like I'm gonna distance myself, but I don't think it's because I'm gonna like lash out or anything like that.
Speaking of that, like I wonder what they're gonna do with her whenever she develops more. She didn't do a lot in this one. No, not Maggie. Like his what was her name?
I don't know what
The,
you're talking
the
about.
the intelligent spirit. He goes like he births out of his mind.
Oh, uh, I don't. I honestly don't know.
Yeah, because it's like almost like I felt like for a moment it's like, well, is she gonna be that instead of like is she gonna be like the new Bob, quote unquote,
I
for Harry?
believe
Because
so.
Bob's more of Butter's companion now.
Well, I don't know. I mean, Bob is always
And
whoever
although
owns.
like Bob is used a lot in the final thing too, so in this one at
Hmm.
least, yeah. I was like imagine because the way Butters is using Bob was like really interesting. I was like, what if he combined that with his current like Knight of the Cross like abilities?
I don't know how well it's gonna. I don't know how well he's going to jump into it.
Oh yeah,
That
no, yeah.
um,
That's probably a desperation thing, anyways.
it was literally it was how he was Batman.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Um, I do believe that he wasn't dive super to that anymore. And after he gets a lightsaber,
Mm-hmm.
um,
Lightsaber. All right, let's be fancy about it.
yeah.
That can't
Uh,
actually cut flesh, right?
no, it can. It just can't cut.
I thought it
Trying
was
to think.
established it cuts material objects and like fey fiends and like the
It can.
supernatural, but not like human bodies.
So far that that you are correct there. Like it wasn't, but we do see it burning Harry at the end of it. I believe it's kind of established.
Oh, isn't like Harry kind of like
Um,
his mantle makes him part fey in a way?
no, I think
Okay.
it's established that the blade doesn't hurt anybody that's not um
Oh,
or
it's not like
it's like if you are an evil person, this blade can cut you down.
okay.
Is um the way that I saw that one going. I could be completely and totally wrong. Um, but I do believe that uh that is kind of the idea is um yeah, he just it can't hurt somebody that's not bad. That's the
Okay.
worst way to say it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Um,
It's just it's like the sword's broken, but man, is it more powerful than ever?
right. And but that's one of the good parts about it is you can
Ironic that it's a
legitimately.
lightsaber because now it's just Obi-Wan version.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
strike me down, I'll come back more powerful than you can ever imagine.
Um, but yeah, so far that I know, I know in peace talks, um, it goes it like slices through Sonya's wrist but causing no harm.
Yeah.
Um, actually, it they do state that it can't harm mortals. Um, um, but it can do something else. But that was what they assumed in peace talks. But with what we see in, because Harry, I think he responds with like it feels warm, like this is a little bit too warm, comfortable kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think the idea, and then later on when it burns him, I do believe the idea is that Fidelkius, um, does basically it can hurt somebody that is not well, um, good,
I gotcha.
I'm gonna
We'll go with that for right now. It can't hurt someone
right,
who's designated as good.
yeah, which is why it theoretically burns Harry when
Who's middle of rage mode? Yeah.
yeah, and attempting to murder some or kill
Not
some.
only murder but pancake.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I wouldn't say murder because I don't know if he planned it out, but anyways, he was
No, it was
planning to fucking kill somebody.
that dude is just planning to just push his shield until that dude is just against
I'd
the
say
wall.
manslaughter.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I don't know. It was super good to see River Shoulders show up in like a book.
Oh yeah.
Bigfoot, because he's been in I think 3 of them now.
Not only
Being the
show
person that
up, but
taught,
yeah, not only show up, but like, hey, I'm the Juggernaut.
right? Oh well, you see it in I think the 3rd book, because the novellas or that deal with the Bigfoot are with him contacting Harry to look after his kid, who's his big dankly wankly. I don't
Yep,
know what the hell that means, but this is what we're going with now. Um,
it's all good.
and so his son is a scion basically. So his wife is a normal mortal being, and then Bigfoot is
Bigfoot.
big. Um, and
There's many questions that arise after that discussion, but
right,
yeah.
but you see him grow, but you see River Shoulders have a lot of magical power just naturally.
Hmm.
But to see that he's the one that taught listens to win is nice.
And
That's
then you
a
also
just
see
a
that it was like a what, branch of Bigfoots, I guess we'll call them. That was like, oh yeah, that was also Grendel. I was like, what? I
yep.
was like,
Which makes sense. Like it works. Which is who oh God, what was the one? What was the name of the one in Skin Game?
I don't know,
Um,
but he was scary.
yeah, right. But whichever one was the one in Skin Game. Anyways, he was he was basically a twat. That was a
Descendant
you
from
know
like the ones that were like known to
yep.
be Grendel and
So
things
he
like
was
that.
like the bad one.
Yeah. Like no,
um,
you're talking about the wrong one. That one's like the evil ones.
yeah.
Now I
Um,
think about it, was what the heck is Beowulf Fallen? Is that Norse or is that like Germanic?
I'd say Germanic,
Yeah,
if anything.
because Germanic
Um,
mythology has its own thing, but it also shares a lot of Norse gods, and it's like,
I think it's gotta.
yeah,
But yeah, you've got the forest path, the sky path. Is it forest people? No, I know it's the forest people. No, because it's not the war people. So yeah, I think it's the sky path, um, which is River Shoulders.
mm-hmm.
Um, you've got the forest path, which is predominantly the normal Bigfoots that just ignore human technology, and then the warpath, which is the
Yeah,
Genosqua. Um,
Genosqua.
yes.
Yeah.
Um, well, actually, no. Technically, Grendel fights the Viking. Because the
Oh,
Einherjar, um,
Einar Yar, yeah.
yeah, they fight Grendel. That's why they don't like him. So, anyways, sorry. Regardless, yeah, it was good to see them come back. I am excited to see what he does with what is it, Wild Bill, Yoshimo,
And Dracul.
uh, right?
That dude. I was like, okay, cool, yeah. I'm Dracula's dad.
Which when Dracul comes out with the hard K, you're like, ah, fuck.
It's like, oh no. And
um,
then the fact that like he fights River Shoulders to like a standstill, pretty much. It's pretty
yes,
crazy. And then they bring up the Starborn thing again, and I'm like, okay, he's a Starborn too, though. Like,
right. I think that's one of the big ones that I think I want to hit the most.
I'm
It's
still really iffy on the whole Starborn concept. Like, it reeks too much of like a trope I'm not really a fan of, which is like the chosen one thing. And we've discussed this before, but like, yeah, I'm just like reiterating it for this conversation that like I'm not a fan of things that are like you were born on this special day and that's why you have special powers kind of thing. Or like in this case, it's like your powers can now affect them because you were born on this day. It feels a little too Deus ex machina like, but that's just my opinion. It doesn't really affect my opinion of like whether going forward with it, but like I'm just not a fan of the trope.
one of the things I do like about it is um one of the things that I do like is it's not just for the good guys. Dracul is also a Starborn.
Very true. Yeah, that's also a good point.
Um, yeah, it's so far that we know, it's born every 666 years, which is a series of numbers that's tied really heavily with the Bible.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so I think there's probably going to be something that's established there. But we do know that Starborn apparently allows somebody to, yeah, their magic affects outsiders, and they can also, their mind can't be, what is it, messed with by coming in contact with the outside.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
apparently, if you attempt to like banish one, you have to establish a link between yourself. If
Oh,
you attempt
fun.
to banish an outsider, you just go batshit crazy.
Nice.
Um,
Very Lovecraftian. Yeah.
which yes, exactly that. Which is the reason why they stress Dresden has to do it, because he can connect
Withstand.
with,
Yeah.
yeah, and he does it with the hound,
Yeah.
that the, what is it, like the cross, no, not cross, corner hounds,
Corner hounds. Yeah.
corner hounds. Um, but yeah. So far that I know, yeah, because I remember Dracula saying he is also a Starborn, which is good because I do like how it's not just like you're the chosen one. Um, uh, and so far that we know, because it's one of the things that Jim has come out and saying is there's a reason why. Um,
He was
what's
able
it?
to defeat
Yeah, it's
he who
it's the
walks
reason why he was
behind you.
saying.
Yeah.
Yep, wasn't really defeated, was just a test,
Well, yeah, like
but
pushed
it's
him
one of the,
back, kind of thing.
yeah. Um, it's one of the reasons why Justin picked Harry and Elaine.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's because they were both born within a few months of each other.
Oh,
Um,
okay. I wonder if Justin will show up again, or Elaine, for that
what was
matter.
that?
I wonder if either one of the. I wonder like when those two are gonna show up again. I don't know. I don't
Justin?
know. I know Justin will show up, but like Elaine.
Hopefully Elaine will, because
Yeah.
there's talk. Because that's what I was saying is because Elaine is also in that, is in a few months around. So theoretically, they're right around. As Jim said, they're, for all intents and purposes, they're the same age. Um, which is one of the reasons why Justin grabbed them. Because he thought that they may also be Star.
Oh, okay.
Which is, it's one of those retconning things that you come to find out later on, not in a bad way, that um um
He always does a good job of tying in previous events. Like
yep,
it's a
that
pseudo
this is,
retcon, not a total retcon kind of thing.
well, no matter what, it's a retcon, which retcons are not bad.
You're a retcon. No.
People complain about it all the time. Like, eventually you're going to establish something and be like, no, this works better, and you can change it, so do it. No matter what, it's not our story, it's his.
Well, it's like he does it
um
in a way that's like, well, it didn't really. It doesn't really impact that. If I go back and read that, it's not like I'm gonna be like it changes much about what happens. The events still has still happened as they did, kind of thing.
yes,
Yeah,
it doesn't nullify what happened, it just builds upon.
builds more.
And
It
that's
gives
the,
more context.
yeah,
Yes.
and that's one of the good parts. That's one of the good. Like, there are some times where it's like, well, by changing this, you mean you make this never possible able to happen. It's like, well, that sucks. Now that's a retcon, and then you can go into like, mangas and animes have huge issues with that. Um,
Bleach.
but um, but yeah, it was never bad, but it was one of the things where, and it could have been that Butcher was always planning to do like this super secret nemesis thing all behind the entirety of the plot. Um, I don't honestly believe so,
Mm-hmm.
but it could have been. Um,
Poor Thomas,
but
man. Hello.
no, I'm here.
Oh yeah, so this is poor Thomas.
Yeah, poor
Like,
Thomas.
good lord.
I was trying to think of everything we know about, because we got a couple of things at the end.
We got some stuff in Peace Talks and some stuff in Battleground.
Yep, because Peace Talks talks about what
Peace
it's
Talks.
able.
It was Ebenezer who's like, "Let me tell you about Starborn," and then Harry's like, "What?" No
Yeah,
idea.
and like, you gotta join the club, bitch. Listens to Wind, does the same thing. It's like, please stop.
Yeah, like,
Just
dude.
tell me. But yeah, in Battleground, because apparently Dracula is a blood, is Starborn, which apparently Dresden's blood, like, apparently Dracula just feeds on Starborn. Um,
Oh, that's fun.
yep. Dracula also states that what is it, that there's, I think they talked about that there's a, that the White Council may have had like a little bit of tinkering into Dresden's birth as well,
Huh.
which I want to verify that one. because I don't know if I implied that myself when I read that, or if it's just like that the White Council was paying attention to those that were born.
Gotcha.
Um, but yeah, what is it? Because like yeah, fucking listens to When's like I'll tell you it in a year kind of thing. And it's like stop.
It's like my dude.
um, we someone else is a Starborn book too.
Ooh.
Listen, not
What?
listens to Win, but the Clone
Oh,
Wars.
that guy. Yeah.
Yep, he is also. Well, he I think he also states that he is a.
Starborn.
I'm gonna look that up. Um,
I wonder how that affects him because I don't think he uses magic, right?
not that I know of. No.
Yeah. So I wonder like how that applies to him, who's like more normal, quote unquote.
Yeah. Yep, because he tells ethnic Starborn he can't be replaced.
Yeah.
Um. Yeah. I don't know if it'll come to next book when he's like it's gonna I'll tell you in a year means it's gonna be established hopefully next, which if Butcher returns to his normal writing pace will be released probably sometime next summer or
Well, I think
um
at this we've established he can probably like. I mean, I can't say he will, but like he probably keep it up because he released 2 books this year. So
well yes but he also went on a 6-year hiatus. um
yeah, but that's mainly due to personal stuff, right?
so it's yeah he had a divorce. I know a lot of people mentioned that he didn't write because his ex-wife would get a portion of the sales, which
That
could be a thing.
maybe I don't know.
But I honestly doubt it because I don't think that would change after a certain year's time. I don't. Now I do know he got remarried, so theoretically that could change some things. But I don't honestly. I think life happened.
Yeah, life happens.
Uh, and Butcher took a minute to gather himself up, which we had established before. I think you can kind of see that in this book.
Oh yeah,
Um, that there's a lot more of like this tentative, like you fall, you get back up. Not so much in the like it's the final battle, but there's a lot of like I got hurt, but I learned to move on, kind of thing.
well,
It seemed to
it's mainly
me.
in peace talks that where like that
Yep, yep.
happens.
Because Battleground is like, but Peace Talks is just like, you live, you move on, you get hurt, grow, like it's happened before, but it's usually not so hopeful. It's
Yes.
normally like Dresden, like, all right, this is what happens. The only people that don't hurt are dead. Like, you got to get hurt
Yeah.
to grow.
Yeah.
Like everybody's down on pain, but the only people that don't feel it are dead. Like it's hurt. Growing up is getting hurt, learning from it, and getting hurt again. Which felt not hopeful, but like this is how life is. And it's just how life is, and that's how we build through it. Peace talks felt like there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Like we can do this kind of, and it felt slightly different, but it wasn't bad. It just felt like a little bit more of Butcher's like personal viewpoint of like, yeah, shit happens, but you get a little better. Um, but yeah, the way it used to be done, uh, he would basically release the books like once a because they're not super long, and he establishes it and like generally in I think the summers, if I'm not mistaken, and then he pops one out a year.
Mm-hmm.
So he may still be able to do that. I'm hoping so because I love this book series, and hopefully in a couple months' time I'll be able to read the second one. Well, the 18th one.
Yeah.
But I don't know if he will, and it's okay if he doesn't. But I believe he's probably gonna. I'm pretty sure he's working on the next one. He's gonna publish it.
Doesn't he
Because
have
right now,
doesn't he have his Cinder Spire series as well? He wants to work on.
yes, the Aeronauts Windlass. That was a.
I have that book. I have yet to read it yet. It's like
It's
with
not bad,
Codex Alera. I have the first book. I haven't read it yet.
and that one disappoints me. You're a disappointment now.
Oh, that's cool, dude.
You're welcome.
Welcome to my life.
Yeah, Cinder Spires was a book sold to Penguin, I think, the publishing house, and like the idea, and they're like, all right, cool, Butcher, write this, and he did. It was a fun idea. Like I really liked it. Um, I don't know if he was ever gonna go back to it, but the idea was there. Codex Alera is written and finished. Like I have the map above my computer.
Nerd.
Yeah. Oh well. Smell fun. Um,
Hey,
but
you
that
can't
was
just call me out like that.
shit. People are gonna know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was his high fantasy. And so far that I know, like he released Codex Alera and Dresden Files around the same time frame. So like Codex Alera, I believe, took a little longer, but he was releasing both of them. So I do believe he's gonna get back to release.
Yeah, we
Which
can't all
means
be Brandon Sanderson, where it's like I have a summer book and a winter, like I have a spring book
Yep.
and a winter book. I'm like, excuse me, man. Ugh, flex some more, why don't you?
Right. I've been waiting for Sanderson to release
The next Stormlight Archive. I still have to read the third one, dude.
Nope, that one's out, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I still have to read the third one.
Yeah, I believe the fourth one's out, but I'm waiting for
Is
the
it?
next Wax. Yeah.
Oh, I gotta catch up.
I haven't touched it. We're a little bit off track. You can edit this out.
Nah, this is real.
I know, we're just gonna leave it in there. That's
This is-
okay.
yeah.
Yeah, book 4 is out November 17th. So yeah, just came out.
Okay.
Yep,
Well.
it's called Rhythm of War. I don't know. I think I need to go back to it.
I need to read the first 2 books again, dude, because hell if I know
Yeah,
what's going on
but-
anymore.
I just hate. It took way too long to get into.
It's definitely like the definitive version of like the Sanderson landslide, where it's like 600 pages of build up with like 50 pages of all that paying off.
Yeah.
And like the first book, Way of Kings, is like here's 900 pages of build up, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh my god,
Oh my god.
I'm about to burst. It's like,
It's like,
and it does that thing where it's like he super hits you with the lore right out the gate, and you're like, I'm confused.
right. Like, please stop.
Like
I
Thunderclast,
have
what
time
does
for
that
this.
mean?
No, I want more of the Wax and Wayne. That one worked well. It was fun, different. Like it was the Mistborn. It was an establishment on the Mistborn trilogy. It worked. But it was quick. You got into it. You're like, yeah, here we go. And the Rhythm of like Sanderson is like, and I'm like, all right, I gotta read this. I can't. I don't know where I'm at. It's
Yeah.
been forever. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's stay there. Back to
Yeah.
Dresden Files. So, yeah, there's a lot in this book that like we could talk about, and I think we hit the main things though. Was there anything else that stuck out towards you that like you want to talk about?
Oof. Part of me feels like I guess I should have prepared for this more by like rereading it, but I'm in the middle of Wheel of Time.
I'm also busy, so I didn't read it either. So
Yeah. No, everything about this felt I think when you put them together, Peace Docks and Battlegrounds feels like a normal Dresden Files. So as like talking points at the end. So now that you're able to read them together or read them at the same time, do it together. For those of you that have read Butcher's works before, read the Dresden Files, it'll seem more natural. It'll just seem like a very long.
yeah, and I mentioned this in my review as well, that it's better to just read them one after the other. Of course, in that review, I was like, you also just read Battlegrounds in one sitting because it's a ride.
Why not?
Yeah.
I really enjoyed the series. I really, of course, really enjoyed the series, but I enjoyed the book. There was enough fun little tidbits, and I, of course, have never run into somebody that writes sarcasm as natural.
I do say like sometimes like it's not totally intrusive, but like I'm not a total fan of like how snarky he can be sometimes. I think that again, like that's just more personal. It's not like I can't like say that's like objectively bad on his part. I'm just not a fan of like snark. I'm not a fan of
I
I'm not a fan of heaps of snark. I guess that makes any sense.
I love Snark, and like I said, of all of the books that I've read, it clearly isn't much because it's apparently the same book over and over. Um, Butcher writes it the most natural, and I guess living and with my mom and how much sarcasm she had, that I personally throw out um whenever the hell I can. The sarcasm felt natural because there's sometimes you get a little bit of it in like other stories, and it's like, all right, cool, yeah, this is good. But sometimes I think it's the first person.
Yeah.
Um, because a lot of times when it's third person, you're like, all right, you're just an asshole. You're just a snarky asshole.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't know. For Dresden, it feels natural, and it kept, but it wasn't there hugely because of the fact that it had that there was so much more on the. Murphy's death was powerful. It was important.
Hmm.
It was quick.
And he came
You know.
back to it. Like it's not like
Yeah.
she died and then you never heard about it again. It's like no,
Yep.
he straight up marches back to find her body to give her a proper burial, and then he's like, well, now she's in Einar Yar. So
Yep.
I was like,
Which
that's both like cool but also really tragic. So it's like,
one of the things that I really like about it is they basically state that she will never return to Earth until everyone who remembers her is gone, which means no matter what, unless there's a way out that I'm not seeing this,
we all. And here's the
Murphy
deal:
and Dret.
we get Molly to
Yeah.
wipe literally everyone's memory,
But
and then yeah.
Murphy and Dresden will never meet up again because even though Dresden will live for a very long time, she will never come back to the Earth until Dresden dies.
Yeah.
Which is just kind of like they're so close, but it's gone.
Yeah. I mean, they had it
There,
for for a book or two, and then it
yeah,
was like,
which maybe a few months. It was very, and I think that's like going back
well,
to
at
it.
least at
It
the very
felt,
least, like he gave them that. It wasn't like they were almost there, but then I
there and
shot
yeah,
her.
like
It's like, dude.
yeah, right. Um, it felt very real. Said we established this before. There was so much more to do. You can't, and that's life. Sucks, but
You're talking about
it's life,
like if as long as I need to eat that last pizza, I'm invincible. What are you talking about?
right?
Like,
And that's, I mean, shit. That's how you do it. But that's kind of where it was, and that's how you establish and where you go from there. Um, Marcone and Thorm Namshiel dealt well. It made sense for him being able to accrue so much of a power base. Like, cause he was calling in favors and he was smart, but this also is like, okay, there's an extra reason why that you're going to the big boys table because you now know that you can hang at that table.
yeah,
Because Nicodemus is terrifying because Enduriel is a shadow broker, like legitimately. Anything said that like a shadow's around, he can listen to, and so Nicodemus knows information. The noose makes him sort of immortal. He's not going to die from old age from the blackened areas himself, but he's not so much a spellcaster or anything. He's just terrifying, and he knows things.
Marcone's like I can shoot magic. It's like,
And so
well,
Marcone is the same. He's a person that naturally can learn things, and he's established himself in his power base. But now he's got a huge heaping of magic that even if the coin goes away, he should still know, because magic is all about learning how to do it. It's
yep,
kind of establishing a wizard in D&D. It's like if the coin is taken away, he shouldn't lose this magic because he's learned how to use it.
yeah. Although,
If
isn't magic almost tied into like you need to have a certain amount of innate talent as well?
Yes and no.
Okay.
So far that I know, yes, you need to be able to. You need to be like you need to be established to be able to tap into magic and understand it, but it's also predominantly taught. So that's one of the things that I am a little iffy on, because it's like it should be that if he loses this, it shouldn't just be that he lost his magic, because the spark was already there. Like Namshiel had it, and he's learned how to
I mean,
build upon it.
that means like charity. Like what? That's the name of Michael's wife, right?
Yep. So Charity chose to let her talent die.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, which is one of the reasons why she can't go back to it. there was an establishment on that it's basically because she chooses not to learn, because she like literally gives it up and says, I won't touch it again. It is akin to like her cutting off that portion of herself, and
Meanwhile, Maul is like,
it's gone now.
I'm all in.
Right. So Marcone having that power is always great. I mean, it's a good threat, because I think this story should end with Marcone and Dresden. Not like the end all be all, because that's petty and small.
Oh yeah, no. There should be some.
But
There should be some like build up to a conflict between them.
yep. Because eventually, if not, it was going to be like Dresden was gonna take a moment to be like, all right, you're out, and then he's just gonna fucking snowball him into a
Punt him.
corner. Yeah, like, all right, you're in the lake. Now that threat isn't there, because you can't do that because he's got this power base.
But now he doesn't
bound,
have Harry's building anymore.
right? Her being bound was good. Like, I do like how it's not like, oh, we could just kill them.
No, it's just like, no, we have to imprison her because
right.
we had nothing to kill her.
I can't remember. I wanted there to be something more with Justine. I wanted it to be like they found her body, which sucks because baby.
Oh yeah, no, that'd be terrible. Like,
right?
Oh no.
Or like, but apparently she got off in somewhere, which also bothers me. It's like she got away either by going onto that island, which doesn't make sense. Human Reach shut that shit down. Because Nemesis coming into contact with that would be like, all right, this is a problem.
Like, oh,
but she managed to get away somehow.
Yep.
In an island on the center of that lake. Mm-hmm. I say lake, but it's basically like fucking.
It's a great lake, dude. Let's be real. Like
it's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, where does she go? Does Nemesis have the ability to like physically move her or magically move her? And if it doesn't, then she just swim miles of open water
with a baby.
Yeah. Like, of course, I don't think she's showing, but she is still pregnant. So it's like, is there a drawback on the body? What's going on there? Or did something pick her up? And if so, there's a lot of places to go. Yeah. There's a lot of places to go with that. But
I think I do like how it was revealed though, like in a way where he's like sleeping and he's like, all that just happened, and he's like sleeping. Yep. He's like, what is she? Oh no!
Right? Like, that it's Justine thing was like, yeah, okay, yeah, I get it.
Yeah. It made me feel real sad for Thomas though. He's like, it's Justine. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, man. Like,
right? It makes sense for character. He's not gonna want it done.
Yeah. I got Peace Talks opens up. He's like, I'm having a baby. And Harry's like, cool, dude. Now you tell me.
I hate you.
Yeah. Oh man, there's a lot to talk about in this book. We've hit 2.25 hours. So
it's okay. Here's what we do. Yep. We're gonna call it in. This is gonna be part 1. We're gonna come back in a week. We're gonna reread the book and be like, I don't know what the fuck those guys were talking about before. Here's the real.
Here's the real dealio, guys.
Yeah, it's gonna be part.
All right, part 2. But yeah, I really like the book. I'm not gonna. I don't give number ratings because this seems shallow to me. So I'm just saying it's good.
12 out of 10. Fuck you.
Okay, like, yeah, I enjoyed it. Obviously, Mitchell enjoyed it. Maybe. I'll lie all I want. This is my show. Sorry. It's like the two people watching this are going to be like, sure, dude.
How dare you? Whatever you say.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I did also enjoy the book. It worked out really well. It was everything I wanted hiatus.
Yeah, he came back with a bang.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Like, it was hard to fight. Like, it worked.
Yeah. He hasn't missed a beat. Like, his writing style was like still really effective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It felt natural. It felt like old.
Yep. Yeah, I felt oddly nostalgic reading Peace Talks. I was like, yeah, haven't had this feeling in forever for some reason.
Right.
Yeah. All right, so yep, that was our discussion on Battleground, everyone, and maybe if I can organize my time better, we can do this in a more regular format. So we'll
Like
see.
I said, part 2 coming out in like 2 weeks. All right, after we read it again,
We're
we'll
reading
give an
again?
actual.
Yeah. And then we got like we know everyone's names. We've read the wiki
Yeah.
50 times as well, so
Shit, there's a wiki.
I wouldn't be surprised. Like,
There is a wiki.
oh my god. But yeah, that will be it for today, everyone. Though, and thank you for watching. We'll catch you next time.
Bye.